Hello, dear ones. Well, it turned out that yesterday when I did the video that it was actually more like a three volume edition. And it's going to be Surrender 1, Surrender 2, and Surrender 3. So they're all going to be about surrendering. And today will be Surrender 2. And I'm going to talk about again, it's like, is it the end of the world? Is this the end as we know it? And I remember many years ago when I was with a spiritual teacher called Barry Long, he wrote a book called The End of the World, actually. And it was about the end of the world as we know it. And there's a big difference because if we talk about is it all coming to an end? It's not the world as a physical thing, but it is definitely the end of the world that we have lived in as separate sense of selves, separate from the divine. And look at the mess out there. So that is coming to the end, and we are in the middle of it, maybe in the early stages of it. We can see a lot of it is falling apart. It's not something we need to fear, but we need to be aware. We need to be aware that this is the time to shift out of that separate sense of self that goes out into the world, creating from a sense of lack, from a sense of not good enough, nobody cares about me, I'm doing it wrong, yada, yada, yada. That's that whole core belief system that we were born into when we were born into the matrix. That is the first cover that we surround ourselves with. So there is an immediate feeling that we are separate and we have to figure it out on our own. We are unloved, unlovable. We doubt ourselves. We fear, actually, we actually fear ourselves. We fear being the divine that we are. So it's like we have been, put into this box, which is all based on lies and limitation. That world is coming to an end, and we should be celebrating that. Now, when something changes from one stage to another, it can be and will be messy, and that's what we're seeing here. I don't know how it's all going to shift, but when I'm looking in the world, I can see like, okay, that part is over, and this is coming to the end. So, in that sense, it can look very scary, and it may be very scary. I'm not saying it's going to be a smooth ride for all of us. But if we are aware of what is going on, and we can start seeing that it is because we've been this separate sense of self removed from the divine, created a world that is based on lack and fear and limitation and suffering. We want that to end. Of course, we don't want the good to end. Of course not, because that's what we all want. But since this is the matrix and it's based on duality, there will have to be good and bad and right and wrong and up and down and war and peace and health and sickness and all that stuff. That is duality. And again, I do not know how it's going to shift from a place where we are into oneness. But I do know that as we become aware of those parts of ourselves that live in the matrix, that live in that state of duality, and we keep trying to make things work, like I talked about yesterday, that things don't work anymore. The way it has been for so long, it does not work anymore. So we need to find another way. We don't want to find it with that same separate sense of self. We need to do it from a place of wholeness, oneness, integration, where we are connected with the divine, where we go inside and we bring all the parts that still live as if they are separate, they're unintegrated, they're pushed out, they are cut off. Those parts, that is part of the world that is dissolving, that is disappearing. And the more that we bring them back into the fold, into our heart, into wholeness by fully integrating it all back, because it was never fully cut off, it was never severed, but it sure felt like it. We cannot be separate from our divine origin, from our divine essence. It's who we are. It's just that there is this layer or this veil or cover that makes it look like we are separate. And that's why we go out in the world and do all these stupid things. So, in that sense, I will keep saying it's not a bad thing. It is something that is necessary because, on an evolutionary projection, we are literally moving into a higher state of being, and it is time. We can't continue what we're doing because it is collapsing. So, as that is collapsing, then there are all of us who came here for these times. We can call ourselves light workers or shamans or healers or time travelers or midwives, but we came here for something, and we are those little sprouts that are coming out. And it's like we are bringing that new earth into being here, not by doing anything separate. It's not a separate thing. It's like, okay, I'm going to go and build a new earth. No, the new earth is inside of us as the wholeness that we already are. So it's not like we have to go and do something cut off from it. The doing is going to come from us being whole. Our whole expression is going to be very different. We're going to come from a place of oneness where we're not going to exclude anybody. That doesn't exist here. That exists in the world of duality. But we have to be integrated in order to fully live it. And that in itself is a big task. It's not just something you do overnight. The things that I've talked about with, the core wounding and self-love, please go back and listen to those, because that there I really go into detail how to integrate, how to bring these parts back, how to love the unloved parts that we keep pushing out. And they are the ones, these separate parts, they are the ones that have created this world that doesn't work. So by us bringing them back, it's almost like a puzzle. I see a puzzle piece. We're bringing all these puzzle pieces back to where they have belonged all along, but where there was open gaps because we had pushed parts of ourselves out. Now it's coming back, so we become that whole puzzle, this whole puzzle piece, spelled P-E-A-C-E, so that we become peace. We are not going out there looking for something. We are here and we are living it just by being who we are. And who knows how that's going to look? It can look in any way that makes us feel whole and happy. It's so different from what we're used to, where we had to work hard and we had to sever things and compromise and do things that weren't right for us. My goodness, are we tired of that yet? I certainly am. So for me, it's very much about integrating and bringing it all home. And then I start living from a much more harmonious, peace-filled, loving place. And then that is what I bring to the planet. And that's what I bring to everything I do. And I do things that resonate from the inside out because it feels right, it feels good. Hard work doesn't mean that it's bad. When I'm out in my garden, I love working hard. It's great. It feels like energizing and enlivening, and you can just see, what can come from it, or doing a hard workout, or, I do this aerial dancing. It's really hard, but it feels so good. It really makes me feel my body and connected and strong. So I'm not saying we are not going to do anything that's hard, but we are not going to keep doing things where we compromise our true essence because we live outside of ourselves, thinking we need to do this to make money. Right? I've done a few videos on that. Most people do things to make money. What kind of a life is that? Is that really the deepest truth of the divine? I don't know yet how it's going to look. I keep sharing that without the way money is used now. We might still use money or a different value token, but it's going to come from a place of wholeness where you don't do it to get the token. You do it because you love it. And then whatever is needed comes back because it loves you back, right? There's going to be this flow, a natural flow of giving and receiving. And it's just going to be different. And I don't have the details, but I always sense the bigger picture or the futuristic things. I just sense them and I go with them because that's how it comes through here. I didn't do what I do now when I was living out there separate. I would be too scared. It's coming home, making myself available. So this next step that I'm talking about today, surrender to, is like we need to start surrendering, identifying with these separate sense of selves, the ones we have pushed out. That's where we are at, many of us, where we keep surrendering, engaging with what is not true, with what is what we separate from the wholeness. And that is a big process, bringing back all these parts. It's a lot of work. There's many unconscious parts that we live as if they're true, that we don't even have any clue that we're doing it or that they're there and running our lives. So there is a lot of inner work to be done. And luckily, many people are doing that. And there are many beautiful ways where we can support each other and reach out to others when we need help with that. And I think we all need help. I certainly still reach out if there's something I need help with. We can get stuck in patterns we don't even know are there. And then we can have somebody from the outside help guide us out or help guide us in, right? So we finally come home to ourselves. So that is the next part where it's really important, as this old paradigm is literally dying. We need to surrender our attachments to it. And that is a big one. I've talked a lot about that. What keeps us in the matrix or in the old paradigm is our attachments to them. And they need to be surrendered. And how do we surrender them? We do that by fully going inside of the emotions and the experience of it, without a story, without resisting, without defending, without trying to fix it. It's really learning to go into that raw experience of the attachments, of the emotions, of the feelings, the anger, the grief, the fear, just fully experiencing it so that it can release the energy that's been holding it there. And then automatically we can start leaning back into our true divine self. That's a way where you surrender. You surrender your attachment from the old paradigm, from the matrix. By doing that, you don't feed it anymore. I think this is so important to really understand that every time we engage from an emotional level with the matrix, we feed it and we keep it alive. And then because we don't like it, then we fight it. And that means we are feeding it even more. So that whole attachment to the matrix, it needs to be seen, and it needs to be seen through so we can start letting it go. And then instead of that energy we have put into the matrix, now we can put it on where it belongs. Right in here, our divinity, our I am, the core, our soul connection or our source connection. That's where we need to live. And then that energy fills us up. Maybe not overnight, it depends. Some people have it happen all at once, but usually we still need to go back and integrate these parts. But once we are aligning more and more, more of this energy comes out, and that's the energy that we follow from a place of joy and fulfillment. We do it because we love it, and we bring this to a whole new earth, the new paradigm. And the new paradigm is what we feel in here because we long for it. We long for it. We want something else. And the more we focus here, the more we open up to it to fulfill our lives and the world and make that our next reality. As always, you are welcome to reach out to me if you feel the need to work with me privately to help move through a lot of these layers that can get very sticky and nasty. And also, the first Tuesday of the month, which is next week, I offer an online gathering called Feel Your Deepest Longing, Find Your Spiritual Calling, because they're really very intimately connected. So that's what I want to offer you if any of this resonates with you. And in the meantime, please like, subscribe, comment, share. And there might be a lot more people who resonate with this. And if you feel moved to share it with others, I'll be very grateful. All right. Thank you so much.